Today's lesson is over 4-6, Arithmetic Sequences, or some people call it Arithmetic Sequences. We're going to recognize and extend an arithmetic sequence, and we're going to give and find a given term of an arithmetic sequence. It says during a thunderstorm, you can estimate your distance from a lightning strike by counting the number of seconds from the time you see the lightning until you hear the thunder. When you list the times and distances in order, each list forms a sequence. A sequence is a list of numbers that often forms a pattern. Each number in the sequence is called a term. You do not have to write any of that down. You don't have to write this down either. Here we have the time in seconds, so 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and the distance in miles. And notice that this forms a sequence or a pattern. Each time to get to the next second, I'm adding 0.2 to the distance in miles. So each time I'm adding 0.2. That makes this an arithmetic sequence. An arithmetic sequence is where you're adding the same number each and every time to get the next number in the pattern. Notice that in the distance sequence you find the next term by adding 0.2 to the previous term. An arithmetic sequence, terms of a sequence differ by the same non-zero number d. We call d the common difference. So the distances in the table form an arithmetic sequence with a common difference of 0.2. Again, you do not have to write any of that down. Alright, go ahead and write down number 1. This is our first sequence. It says 9, 13, 17, 21, and then dot, dot, dot. And our directions say determine whether the sequence is arithmetic. If so, find the common difference in the next 3 terms. Then find the 25th term using the formula. And we'll talk more about that formula here in just a minute. So here we need to figure out, okay, what do I add to 9 to get 13? And what do I add to 13 to get 17? And what do I add to 17 to get 21? If I don't know what I'm adding each time, I can find it by taking the first one, by taking the second number and subtracting the first one. So the common difference is 13 minus 9. If this is an arithmetic sequence, first we have to determine if it is. So the common difference is plus 4. So I need to make sure that that works. So I say 9 plus 4 and I get 13. 13 plus 4 gives me 17. 17 plus 4 gives me 21. So this is an arithmetic sequence because I'm adding the exact same number each and every time. Now here it says reading math. The 3 dots at the end of the sequence are called an ellipsis. They mean that the sequence continues and can be read as and so on. So 21 and so on. So we're going to find the next 3 terms here, and to do this we're going to keep adding 4. So I'm going to say 21 plus 4, and that's going to give me 25. 25 plus 4 gives me 29, and 29 plus 4 gives me 33. So I've determined that it is an arithmetic sequence. I found the common difference of 4, because the common difference is what is it that I'm adding each time, and I found the next 3 terms by adding that common difference 3 more times. Now they want us to find the 25th term using this formula. It says finding the nth term of an arithmetic sequence. To find any term, the nth term of an arithmetic sequence, you'll use this formula. So I want you to go ahead and write that down on your paper. A with a little n, or a sub n equals a sub 1. That's an a with a little bitty 1 plus parentheses n minus 1 parentheses d. So to replace n with the number of the term that you are to find. So if they ask for the 25th term, your n is going to be 25. A sub 1 is the first term in the sequence. So you're going to look and say, what's the first term that I see? That's your a sub 1. N is the number of the term you are to find. Again, if it's the 25th term, you're going to plug in 25 for n. And d is the common difference, and we talked about that being the number that you're adding each and every time. Alright, so this is what you should have written on your paper right now. You should have the sequence in the next 3 terms, and actually draw the arrows and show where you're adding 4 each time. You're going to write the word common difference, and you're going to say plus 4. And you're going to show how you found that by saying second minus first and 13 minus 9. That way tomorrow when you get in class, if you have questions, you can look back at this to see what you're doing. And then down here you're going to write a sub 1, n, and d, because we need to find those things in order to use our formula. And again, if you have not already written this formula down, please make sure that you have that written on your paper. Alright, so we're going to fill these in. The a sub 1 is the first term in our sequence. So our first term is right here. It's the 9. So that's our a sub 1. So I'm going to put 9. N is the nth term. It's what is the term that they're asking us to find. And here they're wanting us to find the 25th term. So that's our n. And then d is the common difference. The common difference is what are we adding each time. And we're adding 4 here. So d is 4. Now we're going to plug all these numbers into our formula. And it says write the formula now. I told you to go ahead and write it. If you haven't, go ahead and write it now. We have a sub 25. All this part is a name. It's saying the 25th term equals this. So a sub 1 is 9 plus parentheses n is 25 minus 1 parentheses and 4. So now I can plug all of this into my calculator at once, and I'm fine with you doing that. Or we can work it out a little bit at a time using order of operations. That's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to say 25 minus 1 is 24. 24 times 4 is 96, and 96 plus 9 is 105. Again, all this part is a name. It's saying the 25th term is 105. So if I kept going with this sequence 25 times, the number that would be there would be 105. So make sure you have all of that written down before you move on. If you need to pause the video, feel free to do that. Alright, this is number 2. Go ahead and write it down. We have 4, comma 1, comma negative 2, comma negative 5, and so on, showed with my dot, dot, dot. And my directions here are the same. They say determine whether the sequence is arithmetic. If so, find the common difference in the next 3 terms. Then find the 32nd term using the formula. So first I have to determine whether or not it's arithmetic. So I'm going to find that common difference by taking the second and subtracting the first. So here I'm going to say 1 minus 4, my second term minus my first term, and that gives me negative 3. So if this is arithmetic, I should be adding negative 3 each time. So let's see if it works. 4 plus negative 3 is 1. 1 plus negative 3 is negative 2. Negative 2 plus negative 3 is negative 5. So this is arithmetic because I am adding the same number each and every time. So now I'm going to find the next 3 terms by continuing to add negative 3. So I'm going to say negative 5 plus negative 3 is negative 8. Negative 8 plus negative 3 is negative 11. Negative 11 plus negative 3 is negative 14. So there's my next 3 terms. That was the second part of my instructions. The last part is to find the 32nd term using the formula. So here's my formula. It says write the formula. Then over here to the side, I'm going to write a sub 1 equals, n equals, and d equals, because I have to find those pieces of information before I can use my formula. A sub 1 is the first term in your sequence. That's the 4 right here. N is the nth term that they're asking you to find, and here that's the 32nd term that they're wanting. And d is the common difference, which is negative 3. Now that I have those 3 pieces of information, I'm going to plug them into my formula. A sub 32, meaning the 32nd term, equals 4 plus parentheses 32 minus 1 parentheses negative 3, because I'm going to multiply that by negative 3. Again, I'm fine with you using the calculator and plugging all of this in, but if we are going to do this step by step using order of operations, we're going to say 32 minus 1 is 31, times negative 3 is negative 93, plus 4 is negative 89. So they're saying that the 32nd term would be negative 89. So if I kept going with this sequence 32 times, the number negative 89 would be what would be there. Make sure you have all this written down before you move on. All right, here's number 3. Again, go ahead and write that down. 10, 8, 5, 1, and so on. Alright, again, our instructions say determine whether the sequence is arithmetic. If so, find the common difference in the next 3 terms, and then find the 45th term using the formula. So to find the common difference, I'm going to take the second term, the 8, and I'm going to subtract the first term, which is 10. So down here I'm going to say 8 minus 10. And that gives me negative 2. But here, if I look to see, if I say 10 plus negative 2, I get 8. But if I say 8 plus negative 2, I do not get 5. Okay? So this time I'm not adding the same number each and every time. So this is not an arithmetic sequence. And again, in order to be arithmetic, you have to be adding the same amount each time. I can't add negative 2 to 8 and get 5. So since it's not the same, the common difference is none. We don't have a common difference. And all we have to do is write not an arithmetic sequence. And we're finished with this one because it's not arithmetic. So make sure you have not an arithmetic sequence written down. Again, we're not saying that it's not a sequence. There could still easily be a pattern here. However, it is not an arithmetic pattern or an arithmetic sequence. Make sure you have that written down before you move on. You do not have to write the words in blue. All right, number 4. Go ahead and write that one down. It says determine whether the sequence is arithmetic. If so, find the common difference in the next 3 terms, then find the 23rd term using the formula. We have 6, 1, negative 4, negative 9. To find the common difference, we take the second number and subtract the first one. So 1 minus 6 is negative 5. So we're going to see if this works on each one. So we're going to say 6 plus negative 5 is 1. 1 plus negative 5 is negative 4. Negative 4 plus negative 5 is negative 9. So this one is arithmetic because I'm adding negative 5 each and every time to get the next term. So now we're going to find the next 3 terms. We're going to say negative 9 plus negative 5. And we get negative 14. Negative 14 plus negative 5 gives us negative 19, and negative 19 plus negative 5 gives us negative 24. So we've determined that it's arithmetic. We've found the next 3 terms. Now we need to find the 23rd term. Using the formula, again, you do not have to write these words over here in blue. So here's my formula. Again, we'll go ahead and write that down. A sub n equals a sub 1 plus parentheses n minus 1 parentheses d. And over here to the side, write a sub 1 equals, n equals, and d equals because we have to find those pieces of information to use the formula. A sub 1, again, is the first term that you see, which this time is 6. N is the nth term that you're looking for, so that's the 23rd term here. And d is the common difference, and this time that number is negative 5. So we're going to plug those numbers into our formula and say a sub 23 equals 6 plus parentheses 23 minus 1 times negative 5. I'm going to say 23 minus 1 is 22 times negative 5 is negative 110. 6 plus negative 110 equals 104. Make sure you have all this written down before you move on. If you need to pause the video to take a minute to finish writing it, please make sure you do that. All right, here's number 5. Negative 3.8, negative 3.2, negative 2.6, and negative 2. Our common difference here is 0.6. Because I'm adding 0.6 each time. Again, if I don't know that, I say negative 3.2 minus negative 3.8 to find the common difference of 0.6. To find the next 3, I'm going to continue to add 0.6 each and every time. Negative 2 plus 0.6 is negative 1.4. Plus 0.6 is negative 0.8. Negative 0.8 plus 0.6 is negative 0.2. So it is arithmetic. We found the next 3 terms by continuing to add 0.6. Now we're going to find the 34th term. Our a sub 1 this time is negative 3.8 because that's the first term that we see. N is 34 because that's the term they're asking us to find, and D is 0.6 because that's the common difference. That's the number we're adding each and every time. So we're going to use our formula and plug our numbers in. A sub 23 equals negative 3.8 plus 34 minus 1 times 0.6. We're going to use order of operations and say 34 minus 1 is 33. 33 times 0.6 is 19.8. Plus negative 3.8 is 16. So the 23rd term of this sequence would be 16. Please make sure you have all that written down before you move on. All right, number 6 says negative 4, negative 1, 3, and 8. At this time, whenever I take the second and subtract the first, I'm going to say negative 1 minus negative 4, and that's going to give me 3. So let's see if it works. If I say negative 1 plus 3, I do not get 3. It does not equal 3. So I'm not adding the same number each time here. So all I have to do is write not an arithmetic sequence, and I'm finished with this one. Because there's nothing else I can do with it if it's not arithmetic. Again, there's a sequence there, but it's not an arithmetic one. Make sure you have that written down before you move on. All right, number 7, go ahead and write this one down. Negative 8.5, negative 7.1, negative 5.7, negative 4.3, and so on. So we're going to determine if it's an arithmetic sequence by taking the second number and subtracting the first one to get our common difference, and it's 1.4. So I'm going to see if it works. Negative 8.5 plus 1.4 gives me negative 7.1. Negative 7.1 plus 1.4 gives me negative 5.7. Negative 5.7 plus 1.4 gives me negative 4.3. So it is arithmetic because I'm adding 1.4 each and every time. So to find the next 3, I'm going to continue to add 1.4. It gives me negative 2.9, negative 1.5, and negative 0.1. Okay. Take a minute and pause the video and see if you can find the 29th term on your own here. Right, hopefully you've paused the video and took a minute to see if you can figure this out on your own. A sub 1 is negative 8.5. N was 29 because that's the term they asked me to find, and my D was 1.4 because that's what I'm adding. So I take my formula and I plug in my numbers. Negative 8.5 plus 29 minus 1 times 1.4 gives me negative 8.5 plus 28 times 1.4, which gives me negative 8.5 plus 39.2, which overall gives me 30.7. Hopefully you got that correct. If not, please go back and fix it. Take a minute, make sure you have all of that written before you move on. Again, you do not have to write the words over here in blue. But you do need to have, where you're adding 1.4, you need to have this listed and where you found the 29th term. All right, number 8. Take a minute and see if you can work this one on your own. You have 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, and 8 as your sequence. So go ahead and pause the video, see if you can work this one out. Alright, so hopefully you've paused the video. And here you should know that if I take these and subtract them, 1 minus 1 is 0. And if I say 0 plus, or 1 plus 0, it does not give me 2. So this one is just not arithmetic, and you can just write not an arithmetic sequence, and you're finished with this one. Hopefully you saw that and you got that part correct. And this one says, however, this is actually a well-known sequence. It's what's called the Fibonacci sequence, and it says, can you find the pattern, and what are the next 3 terms? Here, again, this is a sequence. There is a pattern here. It's just not arithmetic. But if I say 1 plus 1, I get 2. If I say 1 plus 2, I get 3. If I say 2 plus 3, I get 5. If I say 3 plus 5, I get 8. So I could say 8 plus 5 and get the next one, and so on and so forth. So it is a sequence. It's just not an arithmetic one, but it's known as the Fibonacci sequence. You don't have to write that part down, that's just a little side note. But if you did actually get the next three, 5 plus 8 is 13, 8 plus 13 is 21, 13 plus 21 is 34. But again, not arithmetic, you don't have to write that part down. Take a minute, make sure you have not an arithmetic sequence written down for this one. Alright, number 9 says, each time a truck stops, it drops off 250 pounds of cargo. It started with a load of 2,000 pounds. How much does the load weigh after the 5th stop? Now we have to be careful with our wording here. Our ace of 1 is 2,000 because that's the amount we're starting with. And it says after the 5th stop. This confuses a lot of people. So I have 2,000 pounds, and this is after the first stop, after the second stop. Whoop, that should be 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Give me just a second. Alright, I went ahead and fixed that. So it's 2,000 pounds, and then this is how much after the first stop, second stop, third stop, fourth stop, fifth stop. So your N here is not 5. If you look at the terms in your sequence, this is the first one, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one. This was actually the 6th term of your sequence. So you have to be careful with that. So N is actually 6 here, because it would be after the 5th stop. So it would be the 6th term. And here we have negative 250. Now, it's negative because we're dropping off the cargo. So we're subtracting or adding a negative 250 each and every time here. We're not adding 250, we're taking away 250 pounds each time. So I'm just going to use my formula and figure out how much I'm still going to have left in pounds after my 5th stop. So I'm going to say 2,000 because that's what I started with, plus, and again, your N is 6. Minus 1 times negative 250. 6 minus 1 is 5, and 5 times negative 250 is negative 1,250. If I add that to 2,000, I get 750. So there are 750 pounds of cargo remaining after the 5th stop. So after they hit stop number 5, there would only be 750 pounds left. Please make sure that you actually answered the question, so you need to make sure you have this sentence right here written down. Make sure you have that before you move on. Alright, number 10, a bag of cat food weighs 18 pounds. Each day the cats are fed 0.5 pounds of food. How much does a bag of cat food weigh after 30 days? Go ahead and pause the video and try this one on your own. It's very, very similar to the cargo example in number 9. Alright, hopefully you've tried this one. Our ace of 1 is 18 because we start out with 18 pounds of 18 pounds of cat food. Our N, again, this one's tricky. We can't just say 30 because we don't want to know how much they're going to be left on day 30. We want to know after day 30. So it is 31. For the same reason it was after the 5th stop was the 6th term. And we're taking away 0.5 pounds of food each and every day that the cat's eating. So we have our formula, and we're going to plug those numbers in. Ace of 1 is 18 plus parentheses 31 minus 1 times times negative 0.5. So again, we're taking away that much food each day. And I get 3. So after 30 days, there will be 3 pounds, and that should say cat food, not dog food. Alright, fix that for you. There will be 3 pounds of cat food remaining after 30 days. You have to write the answer to the question, so you need to have this sentence right here. Just having 3 does not work, because if it's giving you a real-world example, you need to actually answer the question. You telling me that it's 3 doesn't, I don't know that you know what that means, so I need you to write the answer in a sentence. Make sure you have all this down before you move on. Alright, so there's our 2 objectives. We can now recognize and extend an arithmetic sequence, and we can find a given term of an arithmetic sequence. I want you to go ahead and do the before you go. I want you to do number 1 and number 2 here. Determine whether each sequence is arithmetic, and if it is, find the next 3 terms and the nth term using the formula. So go ahead and pause your video and go ahead and try number 1 and number 2 on your own. Hopefully you've had a chance to try that on your own, and if so, you should come up with this first one. It is arithmetic. The next three terms, there's 0.9, 1.3, and 1.7. And your 21st term is 7.3. The second one is not arithmetic. So hopefully you got those correct. If not, please go back and see if you can figure out what you did wrong on those. And that is the end of your video. Thank you for watching.